My husband threw a glass of wine in my face in front of his friends, screaming, "You idiot!" and laughing in my face. And here's what I did next. Right when that red wine splashed across my face, it was like the world hit the slow motion button. The warm, sticky mess soaked into my dress, and I got a big whiff of ripe berries mixed with that sharp booze smell, filling up my nose like nobody's business. Around the dinner table, folks gasped, like thunder rolling in from miles away, but nobody budged an inch or said a damn thing. Then, out of nowhere, came this laugh. His laugh, my husband Lucas's. "How come you're always playing the fool like this?" he sneered, giving the leftover wine in his glass a little swirl, acting like he'd just dropped the funniest line of the night. His buddies snickered, all nervous-like, shooting quick looks at each other, not sure if they should laugh along or pretend they didn't see it. I swallowed hard, feeling my face heat up, not just from the wine dripping down, but from the shame burning me alive. This was supposed to be a laid-back night, just me and Lucas's crew, where I'd put on my good wife smile, chuckle at the right spots, and back him up like always. But nope, I ended up as the damn circus act. I could feel their stares drilling into me, waiting to see if I'd snap or cry or what. So I took a slow, deep breath, grabbed my napkin, wiped the mess off my face, and got up. Real calm, real smooth, like I had it all together. "Excuse me?" I said, keeping my voice flat as a board, not letting a single crack show. Then I spun around and walked off, letting their whispers fade behind me like static. Inside, my chest was thumping, my hands shaking like leaves in a storm. But I'd be damned if I let Lucas see me crumble. I marched out of that restaurant, hopped in the car, and drove home solo. Lucas? He didn't bother coming after me, too busy soaking up his big moment, cracking more jokes, and playing the smooth host to dodge his friends' awkward side eyes. This wasn't the first time he'd made me look like a fool in front of people. It started off small, little jabs at my ideas when we'd talk, snarky digs about my photography gig whenever I brought it up. But lately, those cuts got deeper, meaner, and now here we were, a full-on public show. Sitting there in our quiet, shadowy kitchen, I kept asking myself the same old question. Was it really that awful? I hated that piece of me, the one that always tried to make excuses for him, whispering that he didn't mean it, that he was just wound up, that maybe I'd set him off somehow. But tonight hit different. Something clicked in me. Not anger, not yet, anyway. That'd come later. What I felt right then was sharper, scarier, a clear, cold understanding. The front door creaked open just past midnight, and I heard Lucas's shoes clomping down the hall, slow and easy, like he owned the place. I could picture him, tie hanging loose, still high off his night, thinking he'd find me moping or bawling, ready for him to sling an arm around me and toss out something like, "Come on, babe, it was just a laugh. Don't take it so hard. You made it worse by storming off." I'd heard that song and dance before, too many times, but tonight I wasn't playing. No yelling, no begging for some half-assed sorry, no more do-overs. He strolled into the kitchen and spotted me at the table, my laptop glowing, a pen in my grip, scribbling in my notebook. That cocky grin of his slipped. "What's this about?" he asked. I glanced up, cool as ice. "Putting together a list," I told him. His forehead wrinkled up. "List of what?" I shut the notebook real soft. "Every damn thing you've ever pulled on me." He let out a shaky laugh, his usual swagger wobbling. "Oh, come on, Clara. Quit with the drama." I didn't bite back. Instead, I grabbed my phone, pulled up a video, and flipped it his way. It was the dinner, caught on tape, and now in my hands. Lucas's smirk twitched like a dying light as he stared at the screen, the faint glow bouncing off his face. His fingers tightened on the counter's edge, that smug stance of his starting to crack. "What's this supposed to be?" he muttered, voice dropping low. "Exactly what you see," I shot back. There it was on the phone, his voice cutting through, that sharp laugh of his, the wine splattering my dress, me wiping it off and walking out, and his pals' reactions, some chuckling, others squirming. "Somebody filmed it?" he said, half stunned, half pissed. "Yep, and they sent it my way." I locked eyes with him. Figured I'd want a keepsake. I caught that little spark of panic hiding behind his irritation. See, Lucas's whole deal was his image. He'd built his job, his life, on being the charmer, the guy everybody wanted at the bar. He wasn't the brightest or the hardest worker, but he could talk his way into anything with a grin and a well-timed quip. This, though? This was a problem. "Get rid of it," he snapped, voice hardening. "Now." I tilted my head. "Why? Isn't it just a big joke?" His jaw clenched tight. He dragged a hand through his hair, blowing out a harsh breath. "You're blowing this up, Clara. Nobody gives a damn about this crap. It was funny, that's all." I finished his thought for him. "Tell me something, Lucas. If I'd chucked wine in your face and laughed it off, would you still be giggling?" His mouth flattened into a hard line. Hell no, he wouldn't. If I'd pulled that on him in front of my friends, he'd have stormed out, called me crazy, said I humiliated him. But for years, he'd sold me this line that his words were all in fun, while my hurt was just me being too soft. Not this time. "Clara, come off it," he said, forcing a chuckle, but I could see him starting to unravel. "What's your game here? Trying to teach me a lesson? This is nuts." I stood up slow, grabbing my notebook and flipping through it. "Know what this is?" I asked, tapping the pages. He snorted. "What? A tally of every time I ticked you off?" "Pretty close," I said. "It's every jab, every lie, every time you've made me feel like dirt." I held his stare. "I've been keeping score, Lucas, and it adds up real nice." He wavered between smirking and scowling. "Lay off those cheesy self-help clips, Clara. You're losing it." "Am I?" I stepped closer. "Was I losing it when I sat there quiet, letting you treat me like some prop in your perfect little show? Or when you had me thinking I was the lucky one to put up with you?" That's when it hit him. I wasn't just mad. I was done. He let out a long breath, shaking his head. "Okay, you're pissed. I get it. So what's the plan? You gonna dangle this video over me forever?" I said I was sorry. "You haven't said squat yet." "Fine, Jesus, Clara. I'm sorry, all right? Shouldn't have done it. Can we drop this now?" There it was. Not real regret, just him annoyed I wasn't letting it slide like usual. "Drop it," I said, letting the words hang there, tasting them. He eased up a bit. "Good, that's all I want." "No," I corrected him. "I mean, I'm dropping this, me, moving on, not us." His head jerked up. "What?" "I talked to a lawyer today." I let that sink in. He blinked, like I'd started speaking Martian. "You're kidding." I held up my phone again. Different screen this time, a list of lawyer meetings. "Dead serious." His laugh came out hollow. "Clara, you're flipping out. You're not torching our marriage over this." "Our marriage?" I raised an eyebrow. "The one where you trash me in front of everybody? Where I'm supposed to feel like nothing?" I shook my head. "Lucas, I didn't wreck us. You did. I just quit pretending it's fine." Lucas scrubbed a hand across his face, stomping back and forth in the kitchen like a caged bull. He grumbled something low I couldn't catch, then wheeled around to me. "What's your deal, huh?" he barked, his tone slicing sharp. "You want me groveling on my knees, begging for forgiveness? Is that the game here?" I kept it simple, calm as could be. "Now, Lucas, I don't want a damn thing from you. That's the whole point. He let out another laugh, but it was dry, hollow, not a speck of humor in it. You're putting on a hell of a show. No way you're serious about this. I just flashed a little smile. Stick around and find out. I started heading for the hall, but before I got there, I tossed a glance back over my shoulder. Oh, and Lucas, I said, keeping it light as a feather. Might want to think twice before yucking it up with your buddies about this. Who knows how many of 'em snagged that video too. I didn't hang around for his comeback. For the first time in forever, I didn't give a rat's ass what he had to say. I just kept walking. Lucas didn't come running after me, not right off the bat. That wasn't how he rolled. He loved winning, twisting things around, wearing me down with that slick charm of his, or guilt if he had to pull out the big guns. Probably figured I'd simmer down by morning, wake up kicking myself for making a fuss. Well, he figured wrong. I barely caught a wink that night, but it wasn't 'cause I was doubting myself. Nah, for the first time in years, I felt something close to calm washing over me. My brain was still buzzing like a beehive, my heart still aching some, but deep down, I had this quiet, rock-solid certainty. I was done with him, and no amount of his smooth talking was gonna reel me back in this time. Next morning, I strolled into the kitchen, and there he was, Lucas, propped against the counter, coffee mug in hand, eyeing me like he was waiting for me to cave. Maybe he thought I'd toss him an apology or wave a white flag so we could hash it out. I didn't give him squat. So, he said after a beat, plunking his mug down, you get your big tantrum out of your system? Feeling better now? I sucked in a slow breath, keeping my cool locked tight. This ain't a tantrum, Lucas. Sure, he snorted, rolling his eyes. You're still riding this divorce nonsense, huh? Come evening, Lucas flipped from barking orders to wheeling and dealing. Another text popped up. Lucas, can we just sit down? You and me, no yelling, please. I stared at those words for a sec before firing back. All right, be at the house in an hour. Then I grabbed my bag and headed out. When I got there, he was already pacing like a nervous dog. He spun around fast when I stepped in. Okay, he said, letting out a big breath. Let's handle this like grown-ups. Talk it out like normal folks. I crossed my arms. Go on, then. Look, I was a jerk, I'll own that, he said, raking a hand through his hair, looking all frazzled. I'd had a few, it was a dumb bit, but I wasn't trying to cut you down. I cocked an eyebrow. You weren't buzzed, Lucas. You barely touched half a glass of that wine. His jaw did a little dance. Okay, fine, whatever. Point is, I screwed up. But you're going full scorched earth here, locking me out of the accounts, turning everybody against me. What's your end game? Payback? I sighed, tilting my head a bit. Nope, Lucas. I just want out. His face clouded over again. So that's it? You're just done? Walking off like it's nothing? For a split second, he looked like a lost kid, like it was finally hitting him. He wasn't going to charm his way out of this one. What am I supposed to do now, Clara? I shrugged. Sort it out yourself. You always said I was the screw-up. Now you get to test life without me in the way. His expression turned to stone. You're gonna wish you didn't do this. I gave him a faint smile. Nah, Lucas, that's your regret coming. I turned for the door, feeling a decade's worth of baggage slide off my back. Right before I stepped out, I threw one last line without even glancing back. Oh, and heads up, you might want to check your inbox. Then I was gone, leaving him standing solo in that house he used to run, with a hurricane he never saw brewing about to slam him head on. Lucas wasn't braced for the next hit. I could see it in my head clear as day. Him opening that email, face scrunching up as he skimmed it, then reading it again, not believing his eyes, scrambling to his laptop, pounding the keys, praying it was some glitch. But it was real, all right. By the time I rolled into my new place, the little apartment I'd quietly snagged 2 months back when I started plotting my getaway, my phone was going nuts. Lucas again. I let it ring. Another call, then another. When the voicemail dropped, I was already pouring myself a glass of red, easing into this new chapter with a calm I hadn't tasted in years. Still, I hit play. Still, I hit play. Clara, you. His voice broke thick with fury. You've lost your damn mind. What did you do? I took a slow sip, letting it roll over my tongue. Let's see how he liked this curveball. This could have been the end of the story, but you can't even imagine what I did next. That email I'd fired off, it wasn't to him. I'd sent it straight to his company's HR crew, with that dinner party video clipped right to it. Crystal clear proof of him tearing into me, loud and proud in front of everybody. Didn't need to write a novel, just kept it short and sharp. I'm reaching out to officially flag my soon-to-be ex, Lucas Hayes, for a pattern of verbal and emotional crap, like you'll see in this clip. It's just one taste, but it's been a steady drip that's tanked his rep at home and at work. Figured your company's big on values, so you'd want to know about this kind of behavior. I knew what I was setting off. Lucas's gig was at this outfit that loved to crow about ethics and leadership standards. They ran seminars on respecting folks, embracing differences, all that jazz. Their HR folks didn't mess around when it came to bad press. Now they had a front row seat to one of their own, making a jackass of himself and his wife in public. No way he was sweet-talking his way out of this. My phone rang again. This time, I picked up. Clara. His voice was all over the place, that old swagger stripped clean off. I didn't say a word. You sent that email? For real? Do you even get what you've done? Oh, I get it just fine, I said, cool as a breeze. I made damn sure they saw the real you. God damn it, Clara, this is my job. What's wrong with you? I let out a breath, kicking back in my chair. Oh, now it's a big deal. Now you're sweating consequences? That's rich, 'cause when I was sitting there, soaked in wine, listening to you cackle, you didn't give a damn about how I looked. That's not the same. Yeah, I cut in. It is. Lucas's breathing came out all jagged and choppy, like he was barely holding it together. Listen, we don't gotta go down this road, he said, voice tight. I know you're ticked off, and I get it, but we can patch this up. Just tell him it was a mix-up, that you got carried away. We can sweep this under the rug. I almost cracked up right there. Even now, he thought he could steer me, like I was some puppet he could tug back in line. You still ain't catching on, are you? I said, real quiet. I'm not here to fix this mess, Lucas. I want you to know what it's like when it all crashes down. Dead air hung between us. Then he whispered, low and stretched thin, You're actually doing this? Already done, buddy. The hammer dropped fast after that. Next morning, his boss hauled him in for some emergency sit-down. By lunchtime, they'd put him on ice while they looked into things. Come week's end, the company gave him the boot for good. He tried to push back, yelling about how it wasn't right, how it was just personal stuff, how his wife was out to get him. But that video screamed louder than any excuse he could cook up. And it didn't stop with his gig. His whole image went up in flames. Clients bailed on deals. Work buddies started ghosting him. His phone quit ringing with invites from pals. It wasn't just that dinner stunt anymore. Folks started digging up the other crap he'd pulled. The casual sexist jabs, the way he'd brush off women in meetings, all those little digs that piled up. His life didn't just fall apart. It peeled back to show what had been rotting underneath all along. Without his clout, his smooth talk, his network, Lucas was a big fat zero. A week after they canned him, he showed up at my new place. I nearly didn't open the door, but I wanted to clock him one last time, look him square in the face. When I swung it open, I hardly knew the guy standing there. That sharp suit he used to rock was all rumpled, his swagger swapped out for this empty, antsy vibe. "Clara," he said, softer than I'd ever heard him, "can we chat?" I sized him up for a long stretch. "Chat?" I tossed back. "Like the old days, where you yap and I just soak it up." He let out a shaky breath, shaking his head. "I screwed the pooch, all right. I see that now. But this, it's over the top." "Over the top?" I tilted my head a bit. "You mean like splashing wine in my face with everybody watching? Cracking up while I sat there like a chump? Treating me like dirt under your shoe for years?" He swallowed hard, throat bobbing. "I just need a little time to sort this out," he mumbled. I, I could use a hand here." For a second, I almost felt bad for him. Almost. "You leaned on me all the damn time, Lucas," I said. "You just never wanted to own up to it." He dropped his eyes, rubbing at his neck. "Guess I figured you'd always stick around." I let out a slow breath. "Yeah, me too." Then I shut the door right in his mug. No glancing back this time. That click of the lock cut him out of my world for good. I leaned against the door a minute, breathing out easy, letting the quiet wrap around me. No more head games, no more puppet strings, no more chasing a sorry that'd never show up. For the first time in forever, I was loose, lighter than I'd ever been. I didn't need to peek in on Lucas to know the rest. Word got around quick. His big tumble was out there for everybody to see, and the folks who used to kiss his ring wouldn't touch him now. He tried snagging another job in his field, but the stink had spread too far. In a game built on who you know, he torched every bridge he had. He wasn't just jobless, he was powerless. Those buddies who'd laugh at his one-liners? Radio silence. His savings, what scraps he hadn't blown, were drying up fast. He tried clawing back in the divorce fight, but with all the dirt I'd stacked up, his lawyer pretty much told him to take the deal and hush. He lost the house, he lost the nods from his crowd, and down the line, he lost whatever he was under all that noise. Zoe shot me a text once, saying she'd spotted him at some bar, sitting by himself, looking shrunk down, like he didn't matter anymore. I didn't bother writing back. Didn't need to. I didn't give a damn. My life, though? It took off like a rocket. That apartment I'd landed wasn't some stopgap. It was my do-over. I decked it out my way. Bright colors, cozy vibes, none of Lucas's sterile, fancy man crap. And my business? It blew up. Without him cutting me down, making me second-guess every move, I threw everything I had into it. Took on more help, branched out, and finally saw how much I'd been holding myself back just to keep him happy. Folks started hitting me up, not 'cause of Lucas's crash, but 'cause of what I did after. "You're a damn inspiration," one lady wrote. "Watching you pull through gave me the guts to ditch my own rotten marriage." More piled in, women who'd been stuck like I was, shrunk down like I'd been. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about smashing Lucas into the dirt. It was about piecing myself back together. 6 months after I slammed that door on him, I ran into Lucas again. Pure chance. I was at this networking thing, cracking up with some new work contacts, when I caught sight of him across the room. No sharp suit this time. His tie was half undone, his old cockiness dialed way back, and he was flying solo. I didn't walk over, didn't have to, but he clocked me, and right then I saw something shift in his face. Regret, not 'cause he missed me, but 'cause he'd never really seen me till it was too late. For a heartbeat, I thought he might shuffle over, give it one last shot. He didn't. He knew I'd come out on top. That night, I rolled back to my place, the one buzzing with laughs, glowing with warmth, thick with calm, poured myself a glass of wine, parked by the window, and let out a long breath. This time, I wasn't choking on red wine and shame. I was toasting, not some big revenge win, not just beating him, but breaking free. Lucas thought dousing me with that wine was the kicker to his nasty little gag. He had it all wrong. It wasn't where my story ended. It was where it kicked off.